Tipping over is a feature, not a bug. For many wheelbarrow uses, the end result is to tip out all of the contents into a single place. If stability is needed, there are other options like a garden cart. To add, a single wheel allows you to level the load when going perpendicular to a slope. A single wheel makes the wheelbarrow easier to turn in tight spaces. Anecdotally, they're also much easier to push up hills than a two-wheeled wheelbarrow. Two wheels also deal with uneven terrain more poorly than single-wheel designs. A wheelbarrow tipping over is actually beneficial as well, as it makes them easier to empty. Why is going uphill easier with one wheel? My dad bought a two-wheeled wheelbarrow. Moving stuff around our large, flat backyard is easier than it would be with one wheel. Moving anything, including air, up the windy hill to the front yard is just the most miserable experience. Counterintuitively, it actually is more likely to tip over because you can't lean against the incline. And if the whole thing isn't tipping, you're way more likely to spill the contents. Plus when you get to the destination, you are forced to flip the whole thing forwards and upside down, versus sideways. Also, two wheels to go flat instead of one. Fuck, I need to sell my two-wheeled huge fucking wheelbarrow. To add on the benefits, you can push it on trails that are very narrow. Two-wheel ones would end up with both wheel on soft grass instead of the compact dirt in the middle of the trail. Also, you dodge stones better with a single wheel. In mud, you can easily move it by putting a wooden plank on the obstacle. Two wheels would need aiming and more planks. Two wheels are very good to have more surface to not ruin English-style grass, for example, for a gardener. I also wanted to add that lots of construction or build sites will have boards and scaffolding between areas and the single wheel isn't affected where the double wouldn't work at all. Finally, a question in which I'm a genuine expert. A one-wheeled barrow is better over uneven terrain because it's essentially self-leveling on a lateral slope. The wheels of a two-wheeled barrow are always perpendicular to the ground, and therefore not usually level. The wheel of a single-wheeled barrow is naturally perpendicular to the waistline of the person operating it. And since the human body is self-leveling, so is the barrow. TLDR. One wheel is better than two. Edit. Also, a single-wheeled barrow can be rolled up a ramp made of a single plank. A single wheel isn't better overall, it's just better for certain applications. It's like saying a dirt bike is explicitly better than an ATV. They serve slightly different purposes and have different advantages. Easy landscaper here. If you need to get into tight spaces like between shrubs to dump mulch, you need one wheel. Two-wheelers exist but are meant for heavier loads. They are much easier to deal with heavy loads. I frankly prefer them, but they are harder to get into some places. But then there's Vermont carts. Two wheels, excellent center of gravity, 1/2 CUYD plus 400 lbs capacity. A 26 inches wheel goes over damn near any bump. It stands on its nose so you can flat load large messes and plants in. You can DIY your own. https://cartsvermont.com/shop/garden-carts/large-garden-cart/. I've got two barrows, one with a single wheel, the other has a pair. The trade-off is stability for maneuverability, where I strongly favor the stability of the two-wheeled barrow. The shape of the two allows me to easily tip or roll either when that's my intention, while the single loves to roll over regardless of intent. Honestly, the only reason I've still got them both is because it's common for my wife and I to be working in the yard, and we don't have to share, though I'm often relegated to the single because that's life. May as well go all the way and get a tracked barrow. Wheelbarrows were originally developed in the Netherlands in the mid-1700s, where the farmland is often very muddy and rocky in the spring because of glacier movement. The wheelbarrow allows for the best balance of stability and mobility in such a rocky, muddy environment. Two wheels are great on a completely flat surface but are not great on highly uneven ground. I just made all of this up. I used to do tree work and bought a big, high-capacity, heavy-load wheelbarrow with 2 wheels to carry cut logs from backyards to my dump truck. And X200B. I instantly hated it. With 2 wheels, every little bump in the lawn bangs own wheel up, and tips the whole thing side to side as well as up and down. So much harder to control, and it took a lot more arm muscle to control it. I also had to go straight up and straight down hills, because even a few degrees of side hill made the tall heavy loads tip hard to the side. Basically, a 2-wheeled barrow was only useful to me on sidewalks and asphalt, so it might be okay on some construction sites, but a simple, sturdy type with one large-ish, straight, strong wheel and a stiff frame would be much, much better. This post reminded me of the time my boss filled a wheelbarrow with concrete. The moment he tried to turn, the weight of the concrete launched him sideways. Rule number 1 of wheeling: crete. Place barrow in direction of intended travel before filling. 1. It's much easier to keep one wheel on top of a plank. So going over rough areas, lay down a few planks and push the wheelbarrow over. 2. A single wheel can be pushed along the side of a slope while remaining level. 2 can not. 3. Cheaper to produce one wheel. 4. It's more maneuverable with one wheel. A wheelbarrow needs to be able to move stuff on difficult terrain. One wheel helps in not getting stuck. There are 2-wheel versions. They are not as maneuverable as the single-wheeled versions, but they are more stable and less likely to tip. It comes down to preference and how tight of a space you need to move the wheelbarrow around. I've definitely seen 2-wheeled wheelbarrows before. Not the standard, because tipping over is the point, but they definitely exist in a 2-wheeled form. Also take into account that May wheelbarrow operators use narrow wooden planks as ramps. 2 wheels wouldn't fit. As others said, it is easier to maneuver. You actually want to tip it over. And HTEONs I've seen at least have 2 legs on the back for when you want stability. Many people here in the Netherlands have wheelbarrows with 2 wheels. It is very stable and easier on the shoulders. Push barrow, open mouth, smile. 1 wheel is much more maneuverable than 2 wheels. 2 wheels get stuck more easily than 1 wheel. 1 wheel is much more easy to dump left or right. 1 wheel is quite bouncy, so easier to get over broken ground. 1 wheel is more efficient than 2 wheels, like on a bicycle. 1 wheel can run up a plank and let you dump the concrete over an edge. Wheelbarrows can be run along planks over muddy ground. Full disclosure, I spent 12 hours one day running concrete in wheelbarrows down a ramp and around a corner and up a plank over an edge to deliver concrete. They do make 2-wheeled wheelbarrow. On the other hand, something geometry, something 3-point something balance. Edit. Okay, I was trying to use this comment as a placeholder but can't find the specific information I am looking for. Basically, the 3 points formed when holding a wheelbarrow should be enough to balance anything put into it, as long as your feet or the wheel doesn't slip out from under you. The second wheel is pretty much unnecessary and even limiting in some ways, because it would make it harder to keep the dirt level with the center of gravity on a slope. In that case, 1 wheel would need to leave the ground for the dirt to not fall out, even if the wheelbarrow itself did not tip over. Good question. Better question is why they all have that bastard metal piece in the front that rips up your shins when you hit a bump. Would you be able to do this? https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=msqnobosjutu with 2 wheels? I didn't think so. A single wheel acts as a pivot. If you load up 150 pounds of stone in your barrow, you can easily pivot and turn the wheelbarrow. On 2 wheels you would need them to swivel to be able to turn. Fun fact. The Chinese used a wheelbarrow with a centrally mounted wheel. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/wheelbarrow-China for thousands of years. This design is massively better for carrying things for longer distances, because you can balance your load so that you only have to lift the weight imbalance, instead of having to lift effectively half of the load like with the Western wheelbarrow.